Okay, welcome everyone. Today's topic is the future of analytics and BI or business intelligence. This is a field that has moved on massively. We now have amazing technologies like AI and machine learning that can help us gain new insights. And to help me discuss this, I'm joined today by Amir Orad, who is the CEO of Sisense. Welcome, Amir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Such a pleasure. Where are you joining us from today?
New York, here in freezing New
Lovely.
York. Winter has started.
Lovely, yes. What's the weather like there today?
Cold.
Cold, yes. So I would love to maybe, if you could give us a very brief overview of Sisense and how you ended up as the CEO there, that would be fantastic just to set the scene.
Sure. So I'm a techie by background, and I've founded a couple of companies before I joined Sisense. Both have used analytics to fight a specific business problem. So my
Mm.
first company dealt with cybersecurity, and we use big data analytics to stop in real time different cyber attacks. The second one dealt with financial crime, insider trading, money laundering, fraud detection, big data used in large volume to identify anomalies and catch the criminals. And after that, I met this great team. This is 15 years of my life in 10 seconds. I met this great team building an analytical platform. And I thought to myself, I had to build this myself in my last two companies, which took endless time and money.
Mm.
And if someone can build a platform that makes it much easier for everyone out there to do, that would be really valuable both to businesses and to the cause they serve, be it financial crime or fraud or security or what have you. And that's kind of the background of how I joined the founding team at Sisense 8 years ago, ages ago, and here we are today.
Very good. And so how would you position Sisense in the market today?
So the BA market is a very large market. We focus on one thing, and we're the only ones focusing on that single thing, and that is embedding analytics inside other people applications, products, and workflows. And as you'll see through the discussion, I truly believe from those previous 15 years, it is the best way to get analytics adopted by the masses and not just in ivory towers and C-suite, etc.
Okay, and that makes sense. And I have spoken to many CEOs of competitor organizations. I recently had a great conversation with the CEO of Tableau, CEO of Click, ThoughtSpot. So I know the space extremely well. Actually, my very first, when I first was at university writing my dissertation, it was, I evaluated all the different BI platforms in the market, and this actually became the first Gartner report. So this is taking me back to my beginning somehow.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you I've heard you talk about some of the failures in how organizations use BI at the moment, and some of the challenges around adoption. And you said that 80% of companies don't use BI at the moment, which do you see that this is still the case? And what do you see is the biggest problem at the moment with
Yeah.
using BI? Because I would argue most organizations use some form of analytics. They have lots of data, more data than ever before.
Mhm.
They use data, they have lots of reporting of data. Why do you think 80% don't use BI at the moment?
So it's a really good question, and let me refine that statement. 80% of the employees of companies don't use or leverage the analytics that, in theory, is at your disposal. So you're correct. This market has matured a lot from the era of the mainframe and those central big BI systems that cost a fortune, all the way to the desktop and web tools. Tableau really was the forefront of that technology. And the BI teams and the business analysts in those organizations are now getting really valuable tools at their disposal.
Mm.
Those tools are not broken. They're really good tools for those audiences. The challenge is the rank and file. The challenge is the doctors, the nurses, the truck drivers, the factory workers, the teachers, the people that run the actual or that operate the actual organization. How do you leverage the power of AI, machine learning, and BI? Because it's very detached from their day to day. And we see that in surveys, and Gartner is putting surveys around the adoption curve of analytics. And you would see that we have solved maybe the first mile problem, the C-suite, the marketing team, the sales team, kind of the senior people. We've not solved the last mile problem, which is the wide adoption of all of those people. And that's where we believe there's a massive opportunity, not only to get adoption, because adoption is not the end game, it's a mean to an end, but to really move the needle on the impact of analytics and big data and AI in many organizations out there.
Yeah, so that makes me much more comfortable, and I completely agree with this. I think 100% of organizations, I would argue, have some form of BI in
Yeah,
place. Very often they have multiple products. They use silo approaches in different parts of the organization. But I completely agree. The vast majority of actual people in organizations don't use it, and very often rely on bottlenecks in terms of analytics departments to help them analyze this. And I guess what you are saying, if I interpret some of the things you're saying rightly, is that you want to democratize business intelligence and analytics to make everyone able to use it, to gain insights, to make more intelligent decisions. Is that right?
it's right. And I want to double click on your last sentence. People actually don't want to use BI. People want to run better businesses and give better service to their customers. People don't want dashboards. Dashboards are just a way today they need to get information to make better decisions and have better outcomes. So that the goal is not more dashboards or more BI. The goal is how do we take the insights generated by endless advanced technologies these days and put them in the hands of the right people at the right time to make the right decisions. That is the challenge I'm talking about. And BI or analytics or big data are the underlying technologies to achieve that.
Mm. Yeah, you're absolutely right. People don't want to use BI. And I would also argue lots of people are probably a bit scared of analytics and BI. So they might not feel that they have the skills or expertise to extract meaningful insights from the ever growing amount of data we now have in our
Yeah.
organizations.
It's getting easier and more difficult at the same time, which is quite interesting.
Mm. So before we talk about how we do this differently in the future, another problem you talk about is this disconnect between developers and day-to-day users, and how software must change and bridge this gap. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Sure. The One of the main ways people today improve their access to better decision making tools and better analytics is by having very sophisticated data teams, data engineers, data science teams, etc. The tools at their disposal are super sophisticated in a good way, really advanced and sophisticated. But taking that sophistication and translating it to a simple input to an end user who knows nothing about big data. They don't know SQL. They don't know about tables and joins and views. They don't want to know. They just want to run their business better or be at the customer call center desk and make better decisions. That gap, as the technology gets more advanced, that gap actually widens. And our job as an industry is to shorten the gap, minimize the gap, so that we can take the richness of capabilities and make it really easy to use for those end users.
Yeah, I agree. And the other issues that you're seeing is here that you feel that the data science teams are not actually working on the on the right projects, that they're quite often focusing on the wrong things, and they should really be focusing on the really important questions, on the 10 and 20% really key questions.
Yeah. There's
Again,
a
do you want
there's
to
a famous stat.
explain?
Yeah, there's a famous stat that 80% of a data scientist or data engineer time has nothing to do with data science. It's all the legwork to get the data organized at a way they can digest it, and all the work to take the output and organize it in a way that is digestible by a human being, a less sophisticated, savvy human being. So the actual work done on the data science or the algorithms or the AI, if you like, is really 20% of the time. The rest is wasted on necessary evil that is required to get the data at the right place, etc.
Yeah, I think anyone working in data science or in analytics teams and BI teams will very much relate to this. This is a frustration I see in companies every single day, where they're just bogged down with organizing data, cleaning data. On top of what you've just said, I would also argue that they're bogged down by helping businesses answer questions that frontline users could probably answer themselves nowadays. So this is another problem. So when I work with organizations on their data strategy, the point I'm always making is that you need to start with your business strategy, really identify the biggest business challenges you have and biggest opportunities, derive some of the key questions from there, and then focus on those really important issues rather than doing everything you've just described and focusing on all the tiny little wins day to day instead of tackling the bigger problems.
100%. I would add one more thing though. Even when you have the eureka moment, you have this beautiful insight you generated, how do you put it in the hands of the right people at the right time? So let's say you found a way to recommend to a car salesperson which car to sell to which customer, right? The classic challenge. Okay, so you now have a dashboard that says for this customer, sell that. How do you put it at the hands of the right person at the right time in a way that they can consume it in the day to day? So even when you reach the insight, you still didn't make the impact. And there's a lot of work to put it at the right place at the right time.
Very good. So we've talked about many of the challenges that I think lots of people can relate to. The fact that we have more data than ever, that not enough people feel that they can easily analyze data, that data teams are bogged down by the wrong things.
Yeah.
So looking into the future, the session we named it the future of analytics and BI. So describe the future, the nirvana that you are seeing, and how would you how do you see BI and analytics in the future?
Sure. So first, I'll start with the two vectors that I believe the entire industry agrees on, and the future is starting now already. But let's start there, and that is massive cloud adoption almost overnight, and the accessibility to AI and machine learning algorithms. Then I'll talk about what we specifically believe and why we believe so assertively around embedding and infusing insights everywhere. But first, the cloud and AI ML. Up until a few years ago, the data industry, the BI industry, the analytics industry was one of the last ones to accept the cloud movement because of data security, privacy, geopolitical regulations, etc. That wall has been breached in a good way. That dam has broke down, and we see massive adoption and move to the cloud, which is really relevant here because it makes things easier, makes access to new technologies faster, such as AI machine learning. So that's number one, and that's already happening. Probably Snowflake was the movement that made the biggest impact or rode that change. The second one is today, it's quite amazing given that they've been doing it for 20 years. Today, a single individual living in a third world country can have better access to AI and machine learning than the NSA had 10, 20 years ago. It's amazing when you think about it. The power, the low cost, the accessibility, the ease is amazing. So those are two vectors that just makes everything cheaper, easier, faster. But the framework people used and are using mostly today is let's build a dashboard. That's what everyone are talking about. Let's build a nicer dashboard, a smarter dashboard. Let's build a dashboard. And all my experience in the industry as someone who's deployed analytics is that's great for the 20%. You will miss out the 80%. So our view, and I've been betting the last decade on it, is that the best way to make an impact, not to build dashboards, to make an impact, is to embed the insights you need at the right place at the right time, not in a separate screen that you have to log in and see a nice report and charts and dashboards, etc. So imagine we work, for example, for a lot of medical device providers. And there's a person manning that big medical device when you go to a hospital with this gigantic room, and they now have access to insights in real time telling them that they can shorten the specific appointment by doing something differently, or that they should do proactive maintenance before the machine breaks down in 3 weeks and they will lose a week of productivity. As a tiny example. We have teachers that now have, as part of their teaching curriculum, they can know in every lesson at the right moment which student is falling behind versus get some report on a dashboard. They log in every end of semester, end of month, end of week to analyze the performance of their class. They don't want to analyze the performance of the class. They want someone to tell them as they prepare the class for tomorrow morning what they should do differently. That is where analytics in the past have not reached because those big dashboards have been scary, not as accessible, designed for business experts or analysts versus mere mortals, humans that are good teachers or doctors or nurses, not necessarily experts in analytics. So this vision is let's embed the insights, one insight at a time sometimes, or a collection of insights within the operational system, in context, in real time, in the flow, and let them make decisions on the fly with them. And we see that happening. We have 2,000 companies and service providers already doing that with Sisense, from fintech to telcos, from healthcare to cloud companies. And we see a massive difference in adoption, and as a result, in the benefit you get from this analytics.
Interesting. So this is how you see your future, that Sisense is being embedded in systems that people use day in and day out, and then deliver insights at the right time without having a classical dashboard.
Yeah, you may still have on the side some dashboard, but it's not the core of the system anymore. It's not the holy grail. It's just a place you go to from time to time. I'll give you a basic example. NASDAQ is using Sisense to provide CFOs insights about how people trade their stock and comparing their company to other companies. Very timely in this stock market, I guess. And they do that as part of the day-to-day operation of the CFO of the company. They don't have to go to some separate system to analyze all of that. They get those insights as part of the NASDAQ portal, if you like. And that matters. That makes it much easier and more likely to be consumed.
So in the beginning, I talked about the advances in technology that we have seen over the last few years. In the past, it was really pulling data from different data sources. You needed to have some knowledge about how to turn this into insights. You need to put your reports together yourself. Nowadays, we have AI, we have machine learning, we talk about augmented analytics. We can automate lots of the insight generation as well as the report generation to some extent. And we have new interfaces such as natural language processing, for example, where you simply have conversations with your data. Which of these technologies do you feel are particularly relevant for the future of BI and analytics, and how do you see them changing this whole field?
As I mentioned, AI and the cloud are the main vectors that are foundational in everything we do. The ability to have behind the scenes AI or machine learning that just spits out an insight. Because again, we don't want dashboards. That's a necessary evil. We want insights to make better decisions in our day-to-day. So having AI, for example, at Sisense, sending an alert or popping up on the screen, we've noticed that on Tuesday evening, you should behave differently because of certain behavior of your customer base. That makes things much easier, especially to the 80% of the users who are not experts in analytics or big data. So we see AI coming in enabling a few things. Number one is push, as you said, push of insights, alerts, pop-ups real-time guidance, etc. That's one.
Mm.
Number two is natural language. Natural language today is part of every BI system because there's a cohort of users who find it much easier to use. And by the way, it goes both ways. Not only you can type in English a question such as, show me my patients from last week with a similar disease, because you want to see some trend, but it actually explains the insight. Some of the insights are very mathematical in nature, and you show this graph with some correlation and segmentation. And again, the 80% mere mortals don't really understand it. They did not do a degree in math at school necessarily. They learned to be a great teacher or a great doctor. So now we have tools, AI tools, that generate an English description of the chart or the insight that the machine identified. So there's English coming into the system and natural language coming out to explain what they see. So those are two tools. You mentioned interfaces. There's actually a third, and that's machine-to-machine interfaces called APIs, application interfaces. And what we see is, especially if you want to embed the insight at the right moment at the right time, that the rise of this API economy of developers taking pieces of technology from all the tools out there and sticking them at the right place in their workflows, applications, and products is very, very valuable. That was not as easy to do a decade ago when APIs were less mature and less evolved.
Very good. Which brings me to maybe exploring the technology stack that you see necessary in the future to make this all happen.
Yeah.
So you talked about APIs, you talked about the cloud. So just explain this in very simple terms. What technology stack you think is necessary for organizations to really leverage BI and analytics in the future?
Sure. So we mentioned parts of it, but let's try and put it together. The unfortunate reality is as the majority of businesses today are still stuck with many different data assets.
Mm.
And there are two technologies of the present or the future that are helping there. One is to virtually connect them. Semantic models, federation, there's lots of names, let's not go there. But they connect different data sets as if they are one. That's really important. The value of seeing a patient or a student or a factory machine, what have you, in multi dimensions, multiple data sets, is dramatically increasing the potential of insights. So you either connect the data virtually, which we do in Sisense or our tools outside Sisense to do, or, and more are doing that, it's a big expensive project but highly recommended, bring it into a very modern advanced database, such as what Snowflake is doing or Amazon or Redshift and the like. We see BigQuery by Google. Those technologies are easier than before to bring everything together, and they leverage the cloud, which is the second piece, to make it all more nimble. Businesses and the economy and our life, right now, this we all see every day, are more volatile than ever, right? Plagues, wars, recessions, what have you, it's actually quite crazy. You need more nimble tools. Because by the time, if you take the traditional approach of going to IT or is going to this and going to that, and it takes a few months to make a change, by the time you want a new insight, that life impact event has probably already ended. So the cloud is helping agility. Those modern tools help agility. And we see a massive movement, almost a rush to leverage them more and more. On the other side is the era of the apps. People generate new applications day in and day out. They use low code or APIs, but literally thousands and millions of applications are born every other week, every other month, every year to help improve the lives of people in the world. And if you take the rich data, AI in the cloud, and take the apps and leverage the APIs to connect the two, suddenly you can connect those two trends and really reach the people you want to reach and make an impact. So those are some of the trends we see. AI machine learning is everywhere behind the scenes, everywhere. How you connect to the data, how you leverage the cloud, how you push the right insight, like literally everywhere. So it's a almost invisible technology in a good way. And it helps both deliver faster in addition to generating the right insights at the right time.
Very good. Do you have any you talked about the two different options, either using a modern data warehouse, data lake, or having a virtual layer connecting the data.
Yeah.
In this hybrid multi-cloud world that we live in and most organizations find themselves in, do you have a preference? Do you think you need a mix of both of these systems?
So it's a really good question. I'm worried about going back to what Windows was 20 years ago, a walled garden. And as a result, we've built all of Sisense as a multi-cloud, cross-cloud, cloud-neutral company, and the same for the data source. I don't believe you can limit a technology or an operation and be dependent on one cloud and one database and hope for the best. It may work, but there'll be some really gloomy day that you need flexibility and you'll be stuck. So I would recommend whatever technologies you pick to make sure you don't have too much of a lock-in. And it's really difficult. It's quite tempting and less expensive to lock yourself into one ecosystem. But down the road, that may be dangerous. So that's when it comes to that. As for do you centralize the data or virtualize it? The truth is it's a fake choice. And the reason is if your data is spread in the organization and you need insights tomorrow, you don't have the time to go and build this beautiful warehouse for the future. If it's all organized, that's amazing. But let me assure you, we see it every day with some department in the company you're not even aware of building new data assets that are not in your database. Hence, my strong belief, just like the cloud, you need the flexibility to go in between everything in one location to things spread and virtualized together. And whatever technologies you choose, it's nothing about Sisense right now, make sure you have that flexibility and agility. Otherwise, you'll wake up one day without the ability to deliver value to the organization.
Very true. No, I believe that too. So we talked about the problems, we talked about what the future might look like. So how do we get there? What do organizations now need to do? When I work with organizations, I see that there are challenges on lots of different levels. There's sometimes a challenge around culture that is quite important. So if you want to get to the vision that you've just talked about, we need to have this culture where we not only democratize access to analytics, but also empower people to make their own decisions and have this kind of culture where we allow people to use data, where we don't have different parts of the organization protecting their own data, where the access is properly democratized in terms of culture and in terms of technology.
Yeah,
I think
culture is a big deal that is underappreciated. The approach I'm describing here makes it slightly less difficult, and I'll explain. Making an organization and a department, especially the 80% BI savvy and change the culture of how they do things is really hard. It's doable and it's been done, but it's not easy. If instead you just push the right insight to them at the right time and not force them to use those big bulky BI tools, you still have a cultural change, but it's a smaller one. If I give the teacher the right insight at the right moment about the right student, that's less difficult to change behavior, to trust that insight, than ask them to go and leverage this BI tool and dashboard, etc. So culture is a big deal. I believe by infusing and embedding insights in every location, we reduce the barrier a bit. But still, you have to teach people to trust the insight. And it's not easy. There's bias, there's fear, there is, fake news about stories you read about one insight that was wrong, even though statistically they are better than the alternative. So culture is definitely important. And I would say one more thing, defining the problem. Again, a dashboard is not what you need. It happens to be a tool we use today to achieve what you need. As you said, Bernard, what we need is to think from the end. And I would say the end is not the business problem. It is the business problem in the context of the operation when you need business problem solved. And then go backwards. And that's the other big thing organizations need to do. Some are doing that, some are still thinking about it as a central BI challenge. And I think we're missing some opportunities.
So I've got lots of business leaders and senior IT decision makers watching this and listening to this. they are always interested in learning from others, and you have so many different customers. You see some of them doing this really well and getting to the vision that you've described. Others are bogged down in all the challenges we discussed in the beginning.
Yeah.
What makes the difference? What are some of the things that leaders can actually put in place to improve that? And do you have any examples of organizations that have done this really well?
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. Let me give three very different examples, which I think will help us. Um, One is a large company. ZoomInfo is a public company, very successful, and they have now bundled all the data they generate. It's a data company. They have endless data with insights for the right audience for every piece of data they generate. The reason they have done it very well, they leverage cloud technologies from the beginning, leverage Snowflake type technology, Snowflake specifically from the beginning, and treated it as a very agile project to put the data and the insights next to each other at the hands of the right person. And that's something that was sponsored all the way from the top. Henry is the CEO. And again, done in an agile way, not waterfall. So every week they improved and added more capabilities. So that's one example. And here the cloud and the agility was really, really valuable. To give you a very different example, very different company, Northern Trust is managing endless amounts of cash in their cash management environment. And they thought that if they had in real time insights into the exact levels of cash they have moving through them versus the liabilities they can use the delta they uncover to offer new services to their customers. So they did something very interesting. They put analytics inside their cash management application. It used to be a separate system looking at things, after the fact, giving summaries and compliance reports. In real time, using APIs, they injected Sisense analytics and insights into the cash management application. It's a very creative way to think about it. And it uncovered that at certain moments in time, there's more cash than they need. And they can use this delta uncovered to offer new services to their customers, generate revenue, make their clients happier, etc. So to me, as a business leader, they had the system, they had the cash, nothing changed. Just by adding the analytics at the right time and the right moment versus after the fact, we literally offered a new capability and made the company better and the service better. So I find that it's a beautiful example of 1+1 = 3.
Mm.
And maybe totally different, very little company I'm very, very passionate about. It's 1-800 crisis text line. Last time I was in San Francisco, I went on the Golden Gate Bridge. And literally, when you get on the bridge, there's a sign, there's a big board saying, if you have any negative thoughts, call this number, we'll help you. They use machine learning driven insights in real time when you call in to help give you the best advice to make sure you don't have bad thoughts about yourself and your life as you get on that bridge. And that's weaving the human answering the call with machine learning driven insights that take into account the person calling in, historical knowledge, right? Everything together and augmented the person. You were not replacing the human, augmented the human with options or suggestions to give a better service to the person calling in and literally saving lives. Much smaller company, innovative use of data, again, real time, just in time in the application, helping a decision being made, which is the theme of what I'm talking about, versus giving a report once a month about what could have been done better, or asking the person on the phone with the patient or customer, I'm not sure how to call them, say 1 minute, wait on that bridge, let me log into some dashboard and get some insight. It doesn't make sense. So to me, those are different examples of very different companies, but they're all interesting in how they leverage this just in time, in the moment, insight to offer new values and unlock opportunities.
Very good. So if I try to summarize some of your key tips, then is move your data to the cloud, create a modern data infrastructure, and then really figure out where you want to use data, the questions you want to have an answer to, and then build this real-time analytics into your existing systems as you use them. Is that right?
That's right. And I would claim, after doing it for too long, more than 20 years, that you would unlock revenue opportunities or better service opportunities. Saving lives is not revenue, it's more important. Leveraging the data you already have and the applications you already have, they're already there. You can unlock new value and at the same time make your organization, the 80%, leverage these modern technologies that are today locked on the side. The 20%, 10% depends how mature you are.
So, how do organizations go about this then practically? Are there any steps, any process they follow to really get the most out of Sisense and improve their analytics and BI approaches?
It's a really interesting question because the answer is not technological. It's
Mm.
actually imagination. The bottleneck is not technology anymore. We have the technology. It's imagining you can save lives better with technology, imagining you can unlock revenue and cash utilization the right way, imagining how you can service companies with bundling data and AP and insights. So what I find is usually we talk to the product owner or the application owner or the business leader and ask them a simple question. If you had the ability to put inside your application that is servicing your customers or your employees insights at the right moment at the right time, what would happen? And suddenly you hear this there's like a click or a light bulb turning on. I can actually win more deals. I can actually stop giving manual reports when they call me in because they'll have it at the right time. I can actually make my people faster or give them better tools. I can make my medical devices give more value for the same investment. And once you get that, you go backwards, just like as you said, start with the business problem, or in this case, the imaginary outcome, go backwards and find which application to leverage. Do you truly have the data? You'll be shocked how many have the data somewhere hiding in the organization. And then how do we inject or embed or infuse, pick your favorite verb, the insight with APIs into that application to service the clients or the employees?
Mm.
And if someone wants to brainstorm with me, kind of not a sales call, purely brainstorm, happy to do that. I'm passionate about it because it's amazing to see the impact we can make on people's lives.
Mm. Yeah, it's great. I think it's lots of really good examples here, lots of really good advice. Where do you, if you look ahead and into the future for Sisense,
Yeah.
what's what's next? Where do you want to take the organization?
So even before Sisense, I truly believe, since I was a potential customer in the past, that every application on the planet will be infused with data, big data, insights, AI, etc. Because there's no other choice. If you have a medical device that is smarter than the other one and making patients healthier, the other one will disappear. Just like today, I use Google Maps, and in real time, I get insights about traffic. I don't have a traffic application, a parking application, a mapping application. It's all bundled together. So I truly believe that even this call will be some future version of Zoom or on video telling me when I speak too fast or too slow. Am I boring or interesting? It makes sense. Everything will be smarter. And I also believe that there'll be dedicated technologies or companies focusing on this challenge of embedding and ingesting insights because it's quite complex. You have to use all the APIs to put them in the right place and make it really easy for the users. And that's the job of Sisense. That's our place in the ecosystem. There's many good BI companies out there, but someone has to be 1000% focused on one thing, which is how do we embed insights at the right place at the right time, leveraging machine learning, cloud, etc. And that's our job. That's all we do.
As someone that is really embedded in this world of tech, I'm intrigued to see what technologies you are keeping an eye on. If you look into the future, we've talked about cloud, we've talked about
Yeah.
AI and machine learning. Anything else that you think this is really interesting? I need to watch this. This could change the industry or
Yeah.
even change analytics in the future.
The whole world of GPT-3 and related algorithms, I believe we don't even understand what it means. Don't even understand.
which is a just for anyone who doesn't know, it is a natural language AI that is amazingly good at understanding our language, outputting our language, but also doing other amazing things like even generating not only texts and books and spoken words, but also images. And
All
this
the beautiful images you see online recently, imagined by a computer,
mm,
they take all the human knowledge and kind of put it in an algorithm, and they guess what you want to see, and they're pretty good at it.
mm,
But the reason I think people don't appreciate it enough, I'm helping this startup. They built two AIs. One AI generates text, so lots of books, let's call them, and the other AI is actually reviewing, like a book reviewer, reviewing the text and giving recommendations and which book will be more liked by which audience. And then imagine a third AI reading the books and writing summaries of them, and so on and so on. You can, leveraging the same type of power, you may create art, review the art, design a museum, design the marketing campaign for the museum, target which price you will use for what audience, and market it. It's quite amazing. And the reason it's relevant for this call, it generates data out of nothing. I think it generates literally out of thin air based on some prompt data. The data has new insights that can be leveraged elsewhere, and it unlocks imagination in mass volume. And I think this, again, we don't fully understand the impact, and the funny images and the short text generated is only the beginning. So I follow that big time. And the other one is totally unrelated, but very related. And that's the whole genetic engineering project out there. And the reason I say that, the genome is a database. I know it sounds a bit weird to think about it. It's a database with redundancy, repeatability of different parts in case there's a mistake in replication. It's a database that generates something based on the formula described in it. We're now editing the database and compiling the database in new ways, generating uh, uh, new outputs. And I believe the whole genetic engineering analytics AI is going to be changing our lives in the future. Google already unfolded all sorts of molecules that have health implications, COVID RNA vaccines. So again, data, AI, the cloud, and genetics, I think, will accelerate innovation in ways we cannot imagine yet. And I'm excited.
yeah, no, I equally share those with you. I think generative AI is super interesting and will potentially question what creativity is and how we define ourselves as humans. And likewise, if we are able to apply AI to gene editing with amazing progress like CRISPR-Cas9 that allows us to edit and manipulate plants, animals, and humans in the future, that is mind blowing. What potential this could and the impact this could have.
It will change the world, change our lives, our health, our definition of who we are. It's frightening and exciting, like any strong technology.
Yeah, I agree. All future tech and business trends I talk about, I always have this sense I'm equally amazed and excited, as well as slightly scared and apprehensive.
For a good reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Which brings me to the point where I want to talk about some of the biggest fears and hopes you have for the future. What are your biggest hopes for the future?
So forget business, going back to what we just discussed. I see our customers improve lives on a daily basis in education, in healthcare, in transportation, which is maybe less exciting. And that's to me like gives me hope because again today a 7-year-old in the poorest village in the poorest country can have the same access to the Harvard class online that used to cost 200K in Boston. And today you can do remote surgeries and you can unlock medicine. So despite all the news we read every day, it's not a fun time to read the news. I'm quite hopeful about the impact, and I see what people do with our technology, and it makes you feel good inside. And
Mm.
we're just at the first inning of that journey. That's to me gives me hope and excitement about the future. And I believe the rough times we're going through for instance, some plagues, wars, and recessions, the small things in life, will actually result on the other side with more innovation and more creative ways to do things. Just like I now go to the doctor online, which I've never done before COVID, and it makes my health probably better. It's true for other people.
And any fears you worry about?
Well, the Elon Musk, one of the smartest, most vocal people out there, is really afraid of AI, and I think we should respect his view because the AI race is such that no one can stop it. Because if you stop it and the other side is more advanced, it's the theory is that it gets this motion that cannot be accelerated motion that cannot be stopped, this flywheel that cannot be stopped. As a result, by definition, almost sentient AI, in theory, will happen at some point in some time because no one is stopping the race. So Elon Musk is terrified about it. I think we should not ignore that completely. I don't have suggested solutions, but it's definitely something that I think we are under appreciating on a day-to-day basis. It's not going to happen tomorrow morning, but it's just a matter of time if you extrapolate what's happening today in the world.
Yeah, it's interesting because Elon Musk is also behind OpenAI, which is the company or the organization that created GPT-3, which we've just talked about as the generative AI. So they are at the leading edge of many of these
Actually,
developments.
as you know, they did not open it to the public for a very long while, limited access only to academia, exactly to ensure that the boundaries are well set. But yes, someone will make the advancement. Better be the good guys than the bad guys, but someone will make the advancement. Now it's how we make sure we don't create something we cannot control.
One final, when I ask you about future technologies that you're watching, you didn't talk about the metaverse, Web3. Is this something that you're interested in and keeping an eye on?
Facebook came out last week with their big announcement, big event, and the title of the media was Meta announces legs. If you saw that, legs. Now the avatars are not floating, they have legs. The budget for the Meta research last year at Facebook was $10 billion. On the same week, happened to be, NASA announced that they have deflected an asteroid in space that is 11 million kilometers away. That budget was $300 million, not $10 billion, to potentially save the planet one day. So in terms of excitement, I'm much more excited about other things. I personally think it's no one really understands the value, and maybe one day if we're all stuck at home after some really bad period of time, we'll appreciate the metaverse a lot. But right now in the top 5 list I'm excited about, there's many other things before. So that's now the Web3 is very different. Web3 APIs, decentralization, etc., are all related. So I think those underlying technologies are interesting. I personally have not seen enough use cases that show me how we improve lives in most use cases. It helps in fighting some dictatorships and some really lack of infrastructure in some countries. And that's real, but I think there's just other things higher on the list in terms of innovation and impact for the future.
Interesting.
Personally, who knows?
Absolutely. No, this was super interesting. Maybe I would love you to just summarize some of the things we discussed today in terms of the future of AI and the future of BI and analytics. What do you think should be the key takeaways? Anyone watching or listening to this, what should they take away?
Almost all companies, as we discussed, already have analytics and BI projects running at certain levels of success. But they are penetrating on a good day 20% of the people, on a bad day much less. And they usually don't impact your customers or your patients or your students or whatever is the external audience you cater to. I claim, and I have thousands of examples now to show, that if you could inject insights into the applications people use every day, the tools they're already in every day, the products you give to your external users and the applications you give to your internal employees. You will unlock the 80% of the world that are not leveraging analytics. You'll give your customers and your employees the ability to make better decisions at the right time. And as a result, you'll have more productivity. You'll be able to give better service to your customers. You'll have more revenue because you'll be more competitive. And the technologies to enable that are leveraging the cloud, APIs to integrate it to an advanced AI and machine learning. And it's applicable to almost every company I've met to date, from healthcare to financial services, from education to literally with a space company I will not name using it to help prioritize some space activities. And there's 80% of the people out there that can benefit from it tomorrow morning.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That was a really stimulating discussion. Lots of really good pieces of advice there. So thank you, Amir. For anyone who ever wants to re-listen to this conversation or re-watch it, head to my podcast or my YouTube channel, where you can listen and watch hundreds of other conversations with some of the thought leaders and business leaders in the space of future business and technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.